there's just this insatiable demand for content, and to produce good quality content, as you will know as a podcaster yourself, it's not easy. It can be pretty relentless to keep things flowing and keep the standard high. So time is an enemy.
Welcome to Push to Be More with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. This is a show that talks about the stuff that makes life work. And to help us do just that, I am chatting with today's guest, Andrew Armitage from A Digital, about where he has had to push through, what he does to recharge his batteries and to be, as well as, well, basically what he's looking to be more of. So the show notes, the transcripts, and my conversation with Andrew are available on our website, pushtobemore.com. And also while you're there, you can sign up for our newsletter, and each week we will email the links from the conversation, from the show, automatically direct to your inbox, which is totally free and totally amazing. So sign up. Now, this episode is brought to you by Orion Media, which helps entrepreneurs and business leaders set up and run their own successful podcasts. Andrew, you know what? I have found running my own podcast to be super, super rewarding. It opens doors to amazing people like nothing else I have seen. I have built networks, made friends, and had a platform to champion my customers, my team, and my suppliers. And I think just about any entrepreneur or business leader should probably have a podcast because it's had such a huge impact on my own business. Now, of course, that sounds great in theory, but in reality, well, there's the whole problem of setting the thing up, distribution, getting the tech right, knowing what the right podcast strategy is. I mean, the list goes on. My problem is I just love talking to people, but not all of that other stuff. So Orion Media takes it off my plate. I do what I'm hopefully good at, and they brilliantly take care of the rest. So if you're wondering if podcasting is a good marketing strategy for your business, do connect with them at orionmedia.com. That's AURION media.com, orionmedia.com. And of course, you'll find a link to them on the Push website as well. So yes, you will. Check it out. Right. Now, let's talk about Andrew, shall we? He is a digital marketing expert, an award-winning, it's a very difficult phrase to say, an award-winning agency founder and best-selling author with over 20 years experience in the industry. As the founder and director of A Digital, he oversees a talented team of 8 and has built bespoke websites and applications for top companies like ExxonMobil, the wonderful NHS, and because it's all in the same bracket, Windermere Lake Cruises. Oh, yes, it is. Now, Andrew's best-selling book, Holistic Website Planning, offers actionable insights and strategies for businesses looking to gain a competitive edge through digital marketing. And actually, Andrew, I was checking it out. You've got some great reviews on Amazon, but we'll come to that. He also hosts the Client Side podcast, where he shares insights from senior digital leaders on the impact of digital on people, culture, and performance. A fellow podcaster, ladies and gentlemen, loving this. Outside of work, Andrew loves exploring the amazing Lake District in which he lives. His passion is helping businesses succeed through digital marketing, and that is only matched by his love for the great outdoors, which makes a lot of sense when you live in such a beautiful part of the world. Andrew, great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us, man. How are we doing?
I'm doing really well, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, it's great that you're here. And I have to be honest with you, I am slightly envious of the fact that you live in the Lake District.
We're certainly very fortunate. It's a wonderful place to be. It's not necessarily the place that I would think of setting up a technology-based business. If I'm being brutally honest, I suspect a lot of people might take the view, oh yeah, that's where we went on holiday. It's maybe not the first thought of choosing their digital agency based up here. But no, it is a wonderful place to be. We can have a fantastic work-life balance. Now the days are getting longer. At 5 o'clock, I can be out on my bike or walking up the hills pretty soon, not far from here. So it's a fabulous place to be.
I bet it is. Now, in Liverpool, which is where I am today, despite the fact that it is spring, apparently it's snowing. Do you have snow where you are?
Funnily enough, we don't, or at least we don't at the moment. I may find as I come out of the room from recording this podcast, I might have a late night here. But there's almost certainly going to be some on the fell tops, but not at this level just yet, at least.
Oh wow! Well, you've got better weather than we have, that's for sure. So, listen, you've had an impressive career in digital marketing, right? You've worked with some big name clients, which I mentioned. What was it? Windermere Lake Cruises being one of them, obviously. Now, what inspired you to start your own agency, and how did you go about building it into the sort of multi-award-winning company that it is today?
Well, it all sounds very grand, multi-award-winning company. I mean, we're only small. We're not taking on the world. We're not this huge behemoth of a global enterprise. As you said in the introduction, we're a team of 8. But I've long had a fascination for tech, and I was growing up in an age. I was sort of around 16, 17, around the late 90s as the internet really started to go mainstream. And perhaps even a few years before that, I just had this sort of love for connecting wires into things, and this fascination of being connected to a server somewhere else in the world. You must remember all of those CompuServe CDs and AOL CDs, Netscape that dropped through the letterbox. And they were coming through almost every day. And I guess for me, it became a little bit like Lego with websites and things, because you could tinker about with a bit of code, you could publish it, and then if you didn't like it, you go and change it, or you realize then you could do something else with it. And I guess one thing led to another with that, and I just felt this was a huge opportunity for businesses. As the early start of my career, as you said, I spent time with ExxonMobil, and I was given this copy of back then Front Page 98, and told to get on and build an intranet site because everyone had been watching Tomorrow's World, where they were talking about the paperless office.
Oh, jeez. I know what video you're talking about, Tomorrow's World, because it's been doing the rounds on YouTube. And I remember that software. I totally do. So I'm totally with you. Yeah. And if you're listening outside of the UK, Tomorrow's World, just tell everybody what Tomorrow's World actually was, because it's just great.
Yeah, I mean, Tomorrow's World, I seem to think it was something like Thursday night, 7:00. Oh, no, that was Top of the Pop, so it was maybe after Top of the Pop. But it was a program on the BBC, and it was, half an hour.
Yeah.
And it was all of these weird, wacky, wonderful innovations that were going to go mainstream over the coming years. I don't remember there being a specific time frame ever put on some of these things. But, the mobile phone was one of them. Okay, that has come to fruition in more ways than perhaps we could have ever imagined back then. But the much aspired to paperless office is one that definitely hasn't yet. But no, it was fun. And as you say, you can find the videos on YouTube, and quite entertaining to look back on to see, in some cases, just how crazy the thoughts were back then in terms of what we could achieve.
Yeah. It was great, wasn't it? I was riveted to Tomorrow's World when I was growing up. Like, this is what the world could look like in a few years. Wow, this is amazing. And in some ways they got it right, and in some ways they got it horribly wrong. But they did this one that's worth looking, actually. Go check it on YouTube. I can't remember what it was called, but they basically predicted everybody would be working at home and what the home office would look like. And I think they did this in the 80s, and it was just really fascinating. And some of the things you're like, you've got that bang on. Just bizarre how it worked. A bit like The Simpsons predicting who was going to become president, Donald Trump, and other things like that. So yes, Tomorrow's World. What a blast from the past.
Indeed.
What a blast from the past.
But yeah, I kind of recognised the opportunity it presented, I suppose. As I went through my career, I've always been creative. I've always enjoyed graphics and being arty, typography, things like that, photography as well. So I kind of look to combine the two things, really. That's really where my interest got peaked. And we've got a bit of an entrepreneurial streak in the family as well. My dad ran his own business. My sister's self-employed now as well. So I guess I felt a little bit more inspired and had the confidence to go my own way.
So how old were you when you sort of ventured out in your own territory?
Oh, we're going back to about 2006. So Mid late 20s.
Okay, so good. Actually, a good time to do it, I think.
Yeah, I'd had a couple of years corporate experience. I perhaps wish I'd had a little bit more small business or even agency experience. I did business studies as a degree, and I think I look back and think, actually, I wish I'd done more of a graphics or a creative or technical degree, because that's something that I really enjoyed. But actually, what I've learned over more recent years is that's not my role now. I enjoy it, but if I'm running a business, I can't be getting too involved in the nitty gritty of code and development work. Yes, I can oversee it, but I don't necessarily need to be quite so clued up on all the latest bells and whistles that people are working with. But I think having that understanding of the logic and everything that sits behind that, the complexity that development can bring, then that certainly helps, because often I'm sat in front of clients and having to explain certain things, why something is perhaps harder than it appears to be. The complexities and risks that can appear with those types of challenges as well. I felt I'd got enough experience under my belt to sort of go out there and sort of find my own way. But we're all learning, aren't we? It doesn't matter how much experience you have. There's always going to be something that comes up. And I think probably one of my favorite sayings, I might even mutter to myself, is that every day's a school day.
And it's such a true statement as well. It's like, what have I learned today? Well, a whole lot.
Yeah.
So you set the business up in 2006 in your mid-20s, and you're still a small team by your own admission, sort of 8 people, which is actually probably quite nice, to be fair. It's not gone crazy. Did you ever have the desire to sort of do the 50, 60 staff agency, or always quite happy with not having all of that drama?
No, do you know what? I suspect, like a lot of agency owners, I set out without really a clear goal, and in your mid-20s, you're not exactly thinking about, how you're going to retire or sell out, or at least I wasn't. So it was really a passion that I had, something that I was able to make some money from doing, picked up early clients, became a bit more official. So no, there was never really a huge ambition to take over the world. And, I think still there's enough to go around for everybody. And there's a lot of merits from staying small. And, I suppose in my head, I've thought, 15 to 20 may be a good size, but, we're not there yet. Maybe we don't get there. Maybe we do. Maybe we just don't pursue that level of complexity, and actually we can become more efficient, work more effectively with the talent, the resources that we've got. And it just becomes less complicated then, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I'm always grateful for the team that I have, because they're amazing people. And it's taken a long time to assemble the team, if that makes sense. And it's
it does.
But you also know that if you ever have problems, at the root of them is usually people. And so the more people you have, in some ways it sounds a bit cynical, doesn't it? You multiply your opportunity for problems. And that's good and that's bad. And I think it depends on who you are. I mean, we've got about 15 staff working with us now, and we've in the height of it, we had 55. And that changes your job completely, or it changed my job completely. And so I get it from both sides. So you've been running the business. What are some of the big challenges that you faced then over the last sort of 10 years that have either shaped you as a person or sort of shaped your business?
Yeah, I mean, over 10 years, that's a lot of challenges, from recruitment to lost pitches, picking yourself up from days that you think there's got to be an easier way. There's lots of things, but recruitment is a perennial challenge. You've got to find people that you can get along with, the right fit, with the right attitude. I've always felt that looking and recruiting based on attitude and aptitude rather than necessarily raw talent can be a good approach. Particularly if you're looking at more junior people that you want to join the team. It's hard work. It's and I think in some ways it's got easier, but in some ways it's got harder. Code now has become quite commoditized in a lot of ways. You can talk into ChatGPT and it'll generate code for you. And yet we've got all of the advances that technology brings. So it's giving with one hand and taking away with the other, and that's quite a challenge, particularly more recently. And I always say to people that it feels like it's the easiest time to build your own website, but it's also the hardest time. There's amazing platforms out there that you can get for $15, $20 a month. The Squarespaces, Shopify's of this world. And you can be up and running in virtually no time at all. But then you can hit a ceiling with that. And there's certain considerations that you don't always know that they have to become considerations as you go through those early stages and you sort of back yourself into a corner. So the technology is always a challenge, and despite it being something that I'm passionate about, I love the gadgets, the gizmos, and learning new stuff. It does become a challenge to keep up and adapt, because it's not just keeping up, but it is adapting to it as well. And then, of course, you have your setbacks in business. I think we've typically offered projects, work on a lot of fixed fee type projects. And 1 week it can look like you're really worried about how you're even going to possibly achieve the projects that you've got in front of you, because you've got 3 or 4 proposals out that are just on the cusp of going your way. And then the following week, it turns out 3 of those didn't come to anything. And actually, the worry that you had last week has gone from one extreme to the other. And you're thinking, oh, things were looking good with those projects. And now all of a sudden, we've only got 1 of them, or none of them even. It's always trying to even out that feast and famine. But in a small business, that can be really tough. Because often it's me as the founder, as the owner, that potentially has to pick up the loose ends, pick up pieces, or go the extra mile, just to make sure that we've delivered on our promises and clients are getting the level of service that they want to see from us. So that does come with compromise sometimes. It does mean that there can be late nights. It does mean sometimes I've not done school drop-offs or what have you, or I feel that I've missed out in some cases. But it's the pursuit of trying to achieve, and I think you've got to look at these things in a broader context. You can't just say, well, it's been a bad day or a bad week, that's it, I'm throwing the towel in. So I think as much as trying to develop your own skills, it's about maintaining a discipline and sort of being comfortable with that, I think.
There's a lot there, bro, and I'm really intrigued. I just want to circle back to the thing that you mentioned about you've got to keep up and you've got to adapt, and you've got AI giving with one hand and taking with another, and it's AI sort of seems at the beginning of something really quite interesting. I know it's been around maybe a couple of years, but it just seems to have gathered a lot of steam maybe the last 6 months, and it seems to be quite interesting. So as someone who's been in the digital marketing industry for a fair few years, you've obviously seen the industry evolve, right, and change. And now we've got AI thrown into the mix. So what are some of the biggest challenges sort of facing digital marketers today, and how do you stay ahead of the curve, do you think?
It's a good question. I mean, time, I think, is a huge challenge for a lot of people. There is this insatiable demand for content across the world, be it a Netflix audience, be it a business audience that is looking for how to do something on maximize or optimize their YouTube channel. There's just this insatiable demand for content, and to produce good quality content, as you will know as a podcaster yourself, it's not easy. It can be pretty relentless to keep things flowing and keep the standard high. So time is an enemy. But then you've got things like ChatGPT, which do genuinely look like they can help with some of those more menial tasks that perhaps people find difficult. They don't always know where to start from. You tap something into ChatGPT and it'll generate an email for you, and that can be ideal to just get you started. As much as I'm a supporter of that kind of technology, there are risks that come with it, and there is still the lack of context. There is the lack of factual checking that is going to come from that. So I think it's really important that we don't get too carried away with it too quickly. We've got to, yes, absolutely use it, experiment with it, understand its pros and cons. And that's part of the learning. I think for so many of us, yes, there can be formal courses and training and things like that, but I think academia for quite some time, it may have changed more recently, but for quite some years, I think they've been behind the curve in terms of what the commercial world has wanted. And I kind of understand that, but it doesn't necessarily help people who come out of college or university with a degree or other qualification and find that they've still got quite a bit of groundwork to put in. And as I said earlier, every day is a school day. I think it is really important, and I think it's absolutely reasonable to expect people who really want to develop and want to stand out that they do quite a bit of this extra learning or extra research in some of their own time. Yeah, it's great if an employer can support it, but from an individual development point of view, if those people want to stand out, you can't just switch off at 9 till 5. The internet is there 24/7. That's not to say that you go to the other extreme, because of course social media is constantly, with this constant stream of content. You can't do it all. So at that same token, pick an area that you can focus on that is manageable, and you are able to then develop and evolve with it. But don't lose those softer skills, which I think are so important alongside some of the more technical skills. Because at some point you're going to have to stand in front of somebody and justify your position or justify why you've chosen to use GPT rather than write something out yourself, or vice versa. So you've got to know what's going on, but the soft skills of being able to work with people, hopefully, aren't something that are going to disappear, because I'm a big believer that people buy from people, and particularly in our business and arguably yours. We're selling a relationship. That's ultimately what we're selling. And, the byproduct, of course, could be a website or a web app or some sort of marketing campaign or some sales uplift. That's great. And that's obviously part of the outcomes of the relationship. But fundamentally, it's been able to work well with each other and be on the same page with sharing the same objectives.
That's so true. And I'm like you. I'm an avid fan of AI, but I sort of almost hate it at the same time. But I do look at it and go, okay, so it seems to me now the skill is actually in learning how to get the best out of AI. That's going to be like the next big in-demand skill, isn't it?
Absolutely,
But, and it is like I say to my kids all the time, it is a big but. It doesn't replace human interaction, and that's I love what you said there, that people fundamentally buy from people, don't they? And you still need that sort of relationship. I'm intrigued though, because you made this statement about people's insatiable desire for content. Is that why you started a podcast?
No, it's not. There was a few reasons for starting the podcast. We had seen the growth in podcasting. We'd recognized that more and more people were doing it. I've followed podcasts. I think I had them on my iPod, so that's going back quite a number of years, long before they came mainstream. And that's probably partly the sector that we're in. So they were a little bit more accessible to me, I guess. No, the podcast was an opportunity to try and share some of the conversations that we were having here internally with our team, with people who were in digital roles or potentially clients. Let's not beat about the bush with it. It was a marketing activity. It was there to try and support our lead generation and maintain and nurture relationships. It was a business investment to do the podcast. But, it's great fun, and I'm a bit of a tech geek, so, we got a bit of nice tech to support the podcast so we could get good quality recordings. I'm sat in a studio, which is something that, again, was fun to fit out, and we've had the opportunity for clients to come and do their own podcasts in here. But on a personal level as well, it's another one of those things that puts you out of your comfort zone if you're not doing these things
really
regularly.
Does.
You reach out to people, and I don't think anybody I've ever reached out to has said no to being on a podcast. And we've done 50 episodes in our podcast. We're on a little bit of a winter hiatus at the moment, and we'll pick up again later in the year. But it's one of those things that people have always said yes to. It's a great opportunity to spend an hour with them. Whereas if I was to try and contact them and say, oh, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your organization as far as digital transformation, they kind of look at you as if you've got three heads and think, well, I haven't got time for that.
Yeah.
But actually you put a podcast spin on it and people want to, be a part of it. They want to engage with you and talk about these things. So in that sense, it was a great opportunity to widen my own network as well.
No, that's great. And you have got a beautiful studio. So if you're up in the Lake District area of the United Kingdom and you need a podcast studio, do check it out because the pictures look lovely actually on the site. Now you mentioned, I mentioned that you wrote a best-selling book. So I'm going to put it on screen if you're watching on YouTube there. Holistic Website Planning. So apart from, the desire to torture oneself, which is what I think most people feel when they want to write a book, why would you write a book, Andrew? I'm genuinely curious.
Well, you know what? It's not that dissimilar to why would you start a podcast? The inputs are quite different, and it was. I'll be totally candid. It is a little bit like having a rather fancy business card. It isn't something that I particularly had a huge ambition to do. I got involved in a business accelerator and I was surrounded by other people who were doing the same thing. And it was an opportunity that came up. It was done during the pandemic, so I had a little bit more time at home. Wasn't traveling around quite so much, so time was less of a pressure. Writing is something that really challenges your thoughts, and to be honest, that book was probably written 3 times over. The script that came out of it would probably double the length of the final book, but it forces you to challenge yourself. It forces you into doing research to back up the things that you're writing about. And actually, after, it's been published a couple of years now, 18 months. So after 10 years in the business, it was a really good opportunity to just revisit some of the things that perhaps I'd become a little bit rusty on, or the things that I wasn't doing on a day-to-day basis. And it's been really effective when we've met with new prospects, new opportunities, to be able to say, look, here's a book. Don't expect you to read it all. You're more than welcome to, of course. But there is some key sections that I might just draw your attention to that might help with your thinking as you go into this next stage. And the reason for that particular topic was because I've worked with corporates who will remain nameless, whereby there might have been £10,000-15,000 worth of work done. Suddenly there's a change in the leadership somewhere within the team or what have you, and a project is just cast to one side because somebody thinks, actually it's no longer ticks the box. It's no longer going to achieve its goals. And yet all the work, the effort that has gone into it, not just the writing of code, but the meetings, sat around thinking about the content, that human effort just goes to waste. And we hear so much more about sustainability everywhere we look these days. And yet there are so many companies still to this day that will build a website, they get excited about it, it looks great for the first 6 months, then a few people might upload slightly off-brand images or images straight from a camera. The performance starts to suffer. Then they stop writing content because they get busy with other things. And 18 months, 2 years down the line, someone else comes into the team, or the MD, CEO looks at the website and thinks, oh, that's looking a bit shabby. We need a new website. And it's really not a very effective way to work. Digital is very much about iteration. Unlike print, where you design and collate content for a magazine that might be sent to 50,000, 100,000 people or whatever. That's it. Done. You can't change anything once that's been sent. But a website and digital properties, they evolve, they iterate over time. And I think there's so much wastage with things that get thrown out. You've got the whole sustainability of websites themselves. I think that's a totally separate issue in terms of carbon consumption and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it was just quite a wasteful approach that companies build a website, watch it deteriorate over time, and then say, right, we've got to rip it up and start again. And really, yes, there are a time when a website will come to end of life, but if you pick the right platform that's got a longevity and a good roadmap, you shouldn't really have to keep going in and building a website every few years. You really shouldn't.
No, I totally agree. It's like I don't redecorate my front room every 2 years, and there's a reason for that. So one of the things that I found interesting was just reading through the Amazon reviews of your book. Basically, everybody that read it seemed to have been doing a web development process. They were like, our company needs a new website, or we're creating some kind of project. And they were like, this is brilliant. This is great. Recommend it for anybody that's thinking of doing that. So one more time, if you haven't read it, check out Holistic Website Planning. If you're doing a big web project, you'll probably find it quite interesting and helpful. So Andrew, book plug over. Let's. You live in the Lake District. You mentioned you get out on the bike. How else do you've got? I mean, obviously you're spending 400 hours a day writing a book. Probably writing part 2 now. You've got your agency, managing the staff. You've got your podcast. Life seems busy. What do you do to sort of recharge your batteries, fill your tank? What's your thing?
Yeah. Walking or riding, quite frankly, are my escapes. And I dare say I've got to add to that running more recently.
Okay.
It's funny, I got to late August last year, and I was looking at my step count by the end of the day. And in some cases, it was less than 1,000.
Wow.
I come to work,
That's
I walk
bad.
up a flight of stairs, sit at my desk, drive home. And I just thought, this isn't good. It's not particularly healthy. Even though I would, a 10-mile ride or walk at the weekend was not uncommon, I just felt I needed to be doing more. So I started running back in August, and I tend to do sort of about 6 or 8 miles a week, couple of times a week, which is great. Yeah, I really enjoy that now. And the beauty of that is, it sounds stupid when, as you keep referring to, we live in the Lake District, which is a fantastic place. But it's something I can do from the door. If I'm going out on my bike, mountain bike, there's places that might be sort of 20 minutes away, and you just throw the bike in the car and off you go. But sometimes, time can be tight. I've got wife, married with 2 kids. There's after school activities and things like that. So, it's about balance. And to be honest, even just taking my daughter to football training, that is as much of an escape to me, to be able to go and watch and just have a chat in the car. I don't have to be at the top of a mountain or out on the bike. Those things are great, and they really clear my head. And I'm quite comfortable doing those sorts of things on my own. I'm quite happy with my own thoughts. In fact, quite enjoy it, to be perfectly honest. It gives me an opportunity just to distill things that might have gone on through the week, or what I need to think about for next week, or even the bigger picture thoughts. I think there's a real risk that we can get so bogged down in the from one week to the next. You've got to look up as well and think about, is this still what I want to do? Is this still the direction that I want to be taking? Riding, walking, and a little bit of running thrown in. That's generally the 3 things, and then plus family time as well.
Well, the family time I get, the walking I get, the running I don't get.
Well, you know what's so crazy? I mean, even just 12 months ago, I wouldn't have got it either. The last thing I'd run for at that point was a bus that I'd missed at school. But then I found myself in the Nike Town store in London and Oxford Circus, trying out all these different trainers because I'd really got into it. And I'd heard other people say once you start, you can find it a little bit addictive, and I did. Not so much from, I've got to be out doing something, but it just cleared my head, and I knew that I was doing something positive for myself at the same time. That probably started to encourage me to drink more water than I did, rather than fizzy drinks. I don't drink as much during the week. I tend to just leave that for the weekends to try and improve my sleep. So, that has had a little bit of a ripple effect into other areas, and I'm perhaps a little bit more conscious about what I eat as well. Not that I set out to do this to lose weight or anything in particular, but it's just provided this opportunity to think slightly more healthily than I once did.
Yeah, no, fair play. Fair play to you. I'm always in awe at people that can run. I tried it, and I'm not built for long distance running at all. I will power down the 100-meter track as quick as anybody, but anything over 100 meters, I'm out. I'm out. We have a gym at the house, which is great, and it's just full of weights machines or bikes, and that's my thing. So, what does the future look like for you then? Where's the sort of the next 3 to 5 years taking you?
Yeah, good question. And do you know what? I'm probably not thinking too far beyond the 3 years, to be perfectly honest. I'm 45 now, so I suppose I ought to be thinking about what happens at some point. Is that 5 years? Is that 10 years? I enjoy my work. I enjoy what I do, and I'm not someone that could just think, right, that's it. I can just go and chill somewhere. I can sit on a beach. I'd get itchy feet. I have to be doing something. So, I don't see myself stepping back anytime soon. I don't want to be as involved in some of the day-to-day running of the business. That's for sure, and that's a challenge, obviously. And I think a challenge in a couple of respects. One is letting go and allowing myself to step back. For a long time, I found it quite uncomfortable to think that I might have been taking a day off, and yet there was other people in the office. Of course, they're entitled to their time off too. But there was this, I guess, this feeling of guilt that other people were working, therefore I should be working. And that's taken a little while to reconcile, I suppose.
Yeah.
But we've got fuel in the tank. I want to develop the business. I want to grow the business. We're a team of 8. We may get to 10, 12, but perhaps beyond that, maybe not much more. I want to really focus on doing great work with good clients and helping to solve problems that ultimately help their business and of course in turn help ours. And I want to be able to provide a good environment for people to work in, for them to develop their own skills. And of course I'd be lying if I didn't want to take something out of the business myself. But I think increasingly the idea of building a small company, selling it for a fortune, and then just kicking back, I don't know if that's necessarily the place that I would be aspiring to. It's not about growing up to become necessarily 2 million and turnover and whatever profit that you become so attractive somebody wants to buy, and at that point you're potentially running quite a different business. And I still, although I talk about wanting to step back from some of the day-to-day stuff, I don't want to sort of have a total disconnect between what's going on with development or the most recent design that one of the guys has put together, and should they have this type of font or another type of font. I enjoy those kinds of discussions and being close to the coalface, but I'm too rusty now to think about getting involved with code. My team just tell me not to or shout at me when I've broken something usually. So I'm best not getting involved because it opens a can of worms. But at some point inevitably a decision is going to have to be made about what happens to the business. Is there some sort of buyout from the team potentially? Is there some sort of merger or collaboration? That's another option. So it's not hugely well defined. I haven't got an exit plan, as it were. But we know there's opportunities to do more with some of our clients. We know there's opportunities to go out and do good things for new clients. And that is very much the ambition. And I think if we could get a few more bums in seats that just help to define some of our respective roles, without becoming too big, then that feels like the direction of travel.
Yeah, no, it sounds fantastic. I mean, it's all very sensible. And I think the elusive, I'll build it, sell it for a shed load of cash and then retire and buy a boat. I think people are starting to see that for what it is. And actually there's maybe one person out of a million that manages to do that. And for the rest of us, it's a little bit more complex. Than that.
And I think, now we've come out of the pandemic, we've all perhaps got a slightly newfound appreciation for life. You could either enjoy life now and have a slightly more comfortable route to that enjoyment, or you flog yourself to death to potentially enjoy it in 5-10 years' time. Now, some people will happily embrace that challenge. They're perhaps made to do it. It's what they get their kicks from, and that's fine. But I think, the pandemic showed us that life can be short sometimes, and the future doesn't always deliver what you might expect. So perhaps it's an opportunity to perhaps rein some of that in and enjoy what you have, rather than what you think you could have, but could easily be taken away.
I think that's very true and very wise, and I think that's, like you say, the big learning of the pandemic, isn't it? It's like, let's do this now. Let's make it work now, right? So speaking of making it work now, it's that time of the show where we go to the question box. Dun, 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 dun. Right. Dramatic music aside, the rules of this game, Andrew, very, very straightforward and simple. I'm going to flick the cards. You're going to say stop. Wherever you say stop is the question that I'm going to read. Okay.
Stop.
Stop right there. Okay.
This isn't Cards of Humanity or something, is it? It's
similar sort of thing. I just want you to know you chose this question. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, to be fair, I think this is quite a straight. It's not too dissimilar to the one you've just been answering, to be fair. So I'm just writing your name on the question so I know who's done it. Are you where you wanted to be at this stage in your life?
Yes and no. I think we can always say we want more. There's another bike that I'd like to get.
But the wife says no, right?
But I've got 2 healthy kids that are growing up. We've got a fantastic family, my wife. So yes, in that respect. But if I was to honestly answer in terms of the business, no. But isn't that the nature of being in business? You're never quite satisfied with where you are. Otherwise, presumably you'd walk out the door and you wouldn't go back in. So that's part of the challenge, isn't it? Because there's always just something else that you can do, something else you can achieve, or that client that you're adamant that you can break the door down and do some work with them. So yes and no. I think on a personal level, yes, I feel that I am, but probably not quite there on a business level.
I totally agree with you. I'm very blessed. I'm very privileged in a lot of ways, but I'm not finished. And I think if I read like my journals from when I was 20, in 20 years' time, I want to do ... You're like, man, you were miles off. I mean, not even close. But the fundamentals are there, like you say. Like I wanted to be, a family man. I wanted to be happily married. I wanted to have great kids, healthy kids. And you've got those sort of, it's putting the big rocks in place, isn't it? And it's a good question. I quite like that question. I'm enjoying the question box. I'm not going to lie. So my next random question, as you know, this show is sponsored by Orion Media, which specializes in helping business folks set up and run their own successful podcasts, something that you have been doing with the Client Side podcast. So I'm curious, Andrew, you may have interviewed them already, but from everybody sort of past and present that's had a big impact on your life, who would you like to interview and why?
Whoa. Good question. Big question. Who would I interview? Do Do you know what? I'm a little bit stumped.
Oh, that's
good. Yeah, in terms of people that have inspired me on my journey, I mentioned our family has sort of had a little bit of an entrepreneurial streak in there.
Yeah.
I always sort of credit my dad with a lot of that, and that might feel a little bit weird interviewing him, but it could be interesting. Now he's retired, and the opportunity to sort of ask perhaps more questions about some of the decisions he made and some of the perhaps the compromises that he made. That could be interesting. But I'm not such a huge fan of celebrity. I love listening to people's stories and the challenges, the adversity that they faced, and how they've overcome those. And I think people have had to do far more of that than they often make out, and that's not necessarily secret. It's not necessarily that they don't always feel comfortable talking about these things, and they don't always want to appear to be sort of pulling the sympathy card. But I'm always fascinated by listening to people's stories and their journeys, and how, I suppose in some cases, how the stars aligned for them, for better or worse, and what they did as a result of it. So for a name, I could say someone like Stephen Bartlett or Richard Branson. That would feel a little bit cliched. Yes, they're interesting people. Their journeys are interesting, but obviously they're very focused on business. Sometimes it doesn't have to be any particularly notoriety in the person, but just people that have got interesting stories, I think, which is a bit of a wishy-washy answer, I guess.
No, I think it's a very good answer, and the reason I'm smiling is because I've not interviewed Branson. If Richard's listening, you're more than welcome to come on the show, or Andrew's show, actually, go on the client side part. Either way, we'd love to talk to you. But quite a lot of very famous, wealthy people I have over the years interviewed in various ways, and especially in the business arena. And I've had the privilege of meeting them. I've had the privilege of flying on their private jets and all this sort of stuff. And it's been great, and it's been wonderful. And you get to ask them some really interesting questions in the roles that we've sort of done over the years. And I've really enjoyed it. And the thing that sort of unites humanity, whether they're super wealthy or whether they're, absolutely nothing to their name, is their story. And everyone's got a story of challenge, which is why I like doing this podcast. I'm like, what are some of the challenges? What have you overcome? I'm genuinely curious because I find them quite inspiring. And so I don't think it's a wishy-washy answer at all. But I think it would be interesting to do the recording with your dad. And one of the things that I've noticed as I've asked this question to all of my guests is just how many men come on the show and say they would love to talk to their dads, especially if their dads have passed away. And so if you get the opportunity, you should probably do it.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, there's something to take away for sure.
Yeah, and forget about it as soon as the call ends. But no. Listen, Andrew, it's been an absolute treat talking to you, man. It really is. How do people reach you? How do they connect with you if they want to do that?
Yeah, sure. So on a personal level, I'm usually pretty active over on LinkedIn. Andrew Armitage is the handle that I have there. But also you'll find me on Twitter at @Armitage. Same again on Instagram. I love taking and sharing photos. And Strava as well. If you're a runner or an outdoor follower, you can see where I'm getting to, either running or riding here up in the lakes. So yeah, those are probably the best channels on a personal level. Agency-wise, then the business is adigital.agency. And you can contact me online through there.
Fantastic. And of course, follow you on Instagram or Strava. And if I do that, I'm probably going to find all those little hidden gems in the Lake District where the tourists don't really know about. And you sort of have to go to a local to say, where should I go? I'm just going to stalk you on Strava and just go there. No, that's brilliant. Listen, Andrew, sincerely, man, really enjoyed the show. Loved hearing you talk. So many more questions, but time is against us. So genuinely, thank you. Appreciate it.
Very much appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, Matt. It's been great.
No, it's been great, isn't it? So we will, of course, link to Andrew's info in the show notes, which you can get along for free with a transcript on our website, pushtobemore.com, or if you sign up to the newsletter, they'll be winging their way straight to your inbox. Also, let me give a big shout out to today's show sponsor, Aurion Media. If you are wondering if podcasting is a good marketing strategy for your business, do connect with them at aurionmedia.com. That's AURION media.com. And just see what they can do to help you. Now, be sure to follow Push to Be More wherever you get your podcasts from, because we've got yet more great conversations lined up and we don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, you are awesome. Yes, you are. Let me get the right screen. There we go. You are awesome. It's just a burden you have to bear. Just being created and awesome. That's right. Andrew is awesome. I'm awesome. You're awesome too. Now, Push to Be More is produced by Aurion Media. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The team that makes this show possible is Sadaf Bainon, Estella Robin, and Tanya Hutzalek. Our theme was written by Josh Edmondson. And as I mentioned, if you'd like to read the transcript or show notes, head to the website pushtobemore.com. That's it from me. That's it from Andrew. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.